Yeah, I think we can build it out as like little, an extra step in the budgeting process.
Yeah, I think once we get it finalized in the Excel, get the formatting right, then we can send it over there.
Yeah, so I think this dry run with the existing budget lets us start to do that. That way we're not implementing something that we're having to adjust. It'll also help us understand where we might trip up on some things or make some further adjustments before implementing it for next year. So if you look at the top of the sheet that you got in front of you, I'm gonna pull this up so that we can see it full screen, the rest of everybody else. And it may be helpful. We printed some extras if we want to hand those out to those that way y'all can follow along with us.
Brought your magnifying glass.
Thank you. There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
So if you look on the first column, there's criteria. So we've got 8 different criteria, 7 that apply to every decision, and an 8th that applies only to capital. And if we look at the first criteria, is the tier base. And if you kind of look at the bottom of that, the bottom of your page there, that gives you the base tier definitions.
What'd you say that only applies to capital? I missed that.
The only thing that applies to capital is the asset life,
Gotcha, okay.
long-term value question.
Gotcha.
So let's just kind of talk through what Tier A is. Tier A are must-fund services. These are mandated or core services of the city. Those are things that we are obligated by law, by our city charter, by federal law, or Tennessee Code annotated to perform. Those include public safety, our finance department, utilities in some sense. That would probably be stormwater is the way that that's going to fall under what we currently manage. Our debt, our pensions, and our core infrastructure. So streets, sidewalks, those types of things are Tier A. These, we have to do these. Police, fire, dispatch, those things fall in there as well, legal, or ADA compliance. Tier B, these are essential services. These are the things that are kind of expected of a city, a modern city our size. These would include like a planning department, engineering department. They help provide a safe, functional, equitable community. Parks operations, parks facilities fall into this. Some operations can fall into a Tier C level if they are kind of discretionary or they don't serve an equitable amount of the community. Some of these other things include our building codes, our fleet, and grounds maintenance. And I've given you some examples there. Tier C, these are enhancements. These are quality of life additions. These help us compete with others in our region. Sometimes these can be deemed as discretionary funds. They're valuable to our community, but at the same time, when we're trying to generate the tiers of these types of services, these would fall into that Tier C. Those include culture, beautification, and some lifestyle discretionary funds.
Question.
Yes, sir.
We were replacing the risers at the Civic Center. Would those have been, because they could fit in A, B, or C, which one? Because that's a critical thing.
That's right.
But it's the Civic Center thing, which is quality of life, and it's the safety thing, which could have been A and B.
That's right. So let's walk through this, and let's put a pin in the Civic Center risers, and maybe we can work through that together and have that discussion as we walk through. There's a lot of nuance to this. That's why we have multiple categories. For example, a Tier A service, police, can have a request that maybe doesn't score out as high as maybe a Tier C request because it is a safety concern, right? So you have a safety concern with the Civic Centers, whether it's the risers or the curtain. I remember the guy talking about the curtain last year.
Oh, yeah.
Those types of things are high. They have a high safety scoring, but they're low on the tier level.
Yeah.
So the tier provides us just kind of a foundation to start in. So if we look through, we look down. I want to continue to go through the criteria really quickly. So, are we legally mandated to do this? Have we had a lawsuit that's told us to do such? Is it in our charter? Has TCA changed? It's requiring us to do something new. We'll score that, whether there's no requirement, gets a 0. If it's a policy choice that the city's taken on or the city council has decided to enact, you get a 1. If it's an indirect mandate, you get a 2. If it's a direct charter, TCA or federal mandate, you get a 3.
Is there some crossover between base tier and your legal/mandate requirement?
There is a little bit of that,
Okay.
yes. The base tier is really kind of a tier bonus point, just based off of where that particular service or department is in the overall makeup of the city.
Okay.
But each of these kind of flow down and have some relation back to that base tier. Public safety or risk. If there's no impact, you get a 0. If there's a minor need of public safety or risk, you get a 1. And you go on up to, if it's a critical or this prevents loss of life or major liability, bleachers, as you said, you get a 3, right? We've got something that this could really cause an injury to somebody and we need to take care of it. Infrastructure preservation. We have scales of that as too, from 0 to 3. From no effect to minor upkeep of those, all the way up to critical preservation of core assets. So what is a critical preservation of core? That's paving a street, right? That's a core component that we have to do, and it's critical for us to do. This street is falling apart, and we have to do that. Now, if that street is in a level 8 condition, then it's not critical, right? So we'd score that differently. These things may pop up, but this helps us kind of look through it with a common framework. Community demand and equity is another one that we look at. How many people does this affect, or what is the demand of this? For example, one of the things that's come up, and I'm just going to go ahead. There's things that I'll say as we go through this that there's no intent when I say this to target a program, and this will help us not be caught in that nuance. But I'm going to lay some things out today that is going to be like, try to give you some context to what we're talking about. We have a high cost to replace a pump at the golf course, for example. What is the community demand for that, right? I'm just going to go we have the request to do a skate park. What is the community demand for that? And how does that weigh into the cost of it? If we have 50 people that are asking for it and it costs $500,000, how do we marry those two things and how do we score those? That's what this is going to help us filter through.
I understand that. What was missing for me when I reviewed the rubric and your thought process that went into the criteria are how do we consider innovation? How do we consider community development and growth in any of these criteria? And I don't think it can always be as black and white as community need, equity, and whether or not it's a legal mandate when people are developing a budget for a city.
Well, I think there's ways that we can get to that. From my perspective, and I'll share with you an example as we get through this, of where we have deferred doing something that scores almost as high as it can be to do something that is scoring lower. And so when we're looking at a city that is as strapped as we presently are, we're going to have to prioritize these things. And so when we have things that are innovative, if those innovations can help bring return on investment to things, for example, if we say, hey, we're going to bring in a grant writer. This is an innovation that we're proposing, right? Or has been proposed and is currently being implemented from what I understand. We're going to bring in this grant writer. That grant writer should have a return on that investment.
That we could track.
That we can track.
Yes, but this is what I was thinking about, for example, a dog park. And please don't throw any stones at me. I'm
Sure.
not a dog owner.
Yes.
But, however, there are many people who love dogs and actually choose neighborhoods because they have dog parks. So embedded in this process, to me, sometimes there needs to be
think that's important, and maybe something as we work through, and I appreciate your feedback. How do we implement something that, or a criteria that, we need some way to really get down to what is that?
Current ROI or projected ROI maybe?
There
Yeah,
is
you
a
got
little
current,
bit of that
yeah.
in the economic, that next one down, you know, economic and fiscal impact.
Yeah, she's almost talking about projected ROI as opposed to a measurable ROI at the moment.
Well, we could say so we have plans, we have lots of plans. We got plans all over the place. We got plans to build sidewalks, we got plans to build parks, we got plans to build everything. Do these things align with that planning? Because that's where a lot of this,
Yeah.
what you're talking about comes out of, the want.
That long-term planning.
That bigger want comes out of that planning, and that's something,
Yours, that is mine.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So like, if we go fiscal impact, and maybe there's another criteria, how does this align
With plans,
with plans? Yes or no?
yeah.
And if it aligns with plans, that gets you some additional weight in it. Now, even if it doesn't align with plans, but it is of high interest, it's something new that's come about, you know, we update these plans, we should be every 5 years, but sometimes it goes 5 to 7, 10 years. Something new comes along that we need to address, or that has been unplanned, there should be a way, and I think the scoring of this should help us kind of narrow down which of those things really should we consider. Now, I think it's important to understand that this is a tool. This isn't a filter where the city council goes, okay, and the way they use it is the way that they will use it, but my suggestion would be that tier A, tier B, or the high importance, medium importance, can we fund those things? The things that kind of fall out to the bottom, those are the things that are up for discussion. Does that mean they all get snipped? No. There may be some reasoning for saying, hey, we'd rather fund this over that, but we've got to have some criteria to be able to judge that
I think
by.
what we're talking about is tier A funded, B, the goal is to fund, and then tier C is bucket of money left over.
Yeah, this is
What
almost
can
your
get,
last dollar.
yeah, what can get
allocation.
funded with the bucket of money left over?
We've got $100,000 left in the budget to spend. We've got 3 projects. How do we prioritize?
Yeah.
Which one is we
Yeah.
Would we ever, and not saying we would do this, but like for the skateboard park,
Right.
go to that group of interested people and say, if you'll do some fundraising on your end to show a commitment, and we'll show some commitment financially on our
How
end.
does that play into this, Frank? So if you go down to the next one, down below economic fiscal impact, is leverage and match. So right now, in that case, the city is taking on all the funding. That's a 0 score for that. If they are able to bring some leverage to that, via some grant or fundraising efforts, then they can increase the score in that area, which, again, is taking the burden off of the
100%
city.
off of us.
That's right, and shifting that to private or external partners. So yes, I'm trying to equate, and you can't capture everything. And this, I think, will be a working document year to year as we adjust these and fine tune them. But I think this gives us an overall scale of how to look at things. And what I would think that in the end, as we build out the budget, and so you have kind of the year-to-date in front of you there, as that's presented to the council, there's a score beside that. Hey, this is a 15, this is a 21, this is a 11, right? And so they can go through and say, okay, we can do some analysis where we group into these buckets, bucket A, B, and C, and we can say, hey, here are the things that are really on the table for discussion. Now, that doesn't mean that, for example, the police department's asked for new night vision goggles. Are those paramount to the police department doing what they do? Right? I mean, can they continue to perform their policing services without that? I don't know the answer to that, but I think this can help us help us get to that answer,
Yep.
right? Right. Great question. Yes. So the way that, in theory, the way that I've thought this through, this is up for discussion, is the department heads, they best know what's going on. They can best score these things. They have all the information about why they're asking for this. They score, they provide us their score back. This body, Nathan's office, can help normalize those scores. Now, when we talk about normalization, what I mean by that is, like, if they say, hey, we're legally mandated to have a new irrigation system at the golf course. Well, you can say, show me where in the TCA it says you gotta do that.
Yeah.
No, we're not, we're gonna adjust that score, right? So there's some adjustments on the back.
I mean, everything's a tier A, everything.
Everything's
Yeah.
So there's
And
some,
that'll happen. That'll happen.
because people they think, and I'm not saying they're wrong in this, but they consider what they're doing as the most important thing,
That's
and
why
they
we-
should.
That's why we have them there,
That's
yeah.
why they're there, right?
Absolutely.
But, so when we get this information back, there'll be some adjustments that'll be made. Those adjustments, and the way that I'm thinking about it, are tracked, right? So it's like tracking changes on a document. If I send something to him and he marks it up, I can see what he marked up. So I can see the budget committee adjusted this as such. The mayor has the same opportunity to adjust those. If he wants to say, well, this is actually more important than you made it, or this is less important than you made it, he can move that as well, and his changes are tracked. So at the end of the day, we get an understanding of where everybody's laying in on this. And the public has a transparent look at why we're making decisions and why things are moving.
And, yeah, well, the council has,
Gets the final report.
yeah, the council's a final report, and so we talked about this a little bit, and I'm trying to think, I don't wanna get too far down the weeds on it. But as we look at, so police department is a good one, they have so many different sub-departments. So, I mean, I think the capital's easy, it's
Capital's straight.
individual, straightforward,
Yes.
run it down.
Yeah.
Like police department, I'm trying to think through it, right? Is it because there's so many different line items in each sub-department of what they're doing and how they're spending? Probably, I guess, would be best, like CID is one, patrol, traffic,
Yes.
yeah, we go through it like that.
That's the way that I see it happening
Programmatically,
right now, it's at the program level,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there are certain departments that have, when we look at operationally, there are certain departments that have, some are called sub-departments, some aren't.
Yeah,
But we kind of see them as such. For example, on Parks and Rec, we've got,
athletics. Programs.
recreate, yeah, all that stuff, as well as each of these, like the NED, the Civic Center, the community centers.
Yeah.
All of those things would be judged
Individually.
within the mayor's office, right? And so it would be all the kind of
Yeah.
sub-programs that are within the mayor's office. Within the police department, just like you said, all the sub-programs, they score themselves, yeah.
And I-
For example, like the Steve Game comes just with me
Yeah,
as the
go for it.
more itemized budget.
yeah,
So we have gang units, and then we have under police department, and we also have, I'm saying this is photos, I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
but it
photo
says
fingerprints.
Okay.
Yep.
So in that department, the manager may say that I need more money allocated, or new money allocated for gang units, but someone else may have presented a request for photoing, and then they would decide on maybe gang units. That's what you're saying? How they
I
would
think, yeah, I think,
prioritize?
and a lot of the times, yes and no, because a lot of the times, the command staff, the chief, deputy chiefs, they set the budget, and so we still look at it programmatically of, hey, if you're asking for more in this area, tell us why this is a absolute tier A, and photos and fingerprints are a tier B, and so we have that conversation. I was thinking more along the lines, we look at, like Parks and Rec programs is one big bucket, but I would say after-school programs and summer programs, it may give us an opportunity to break out more things. Like after-school programs and summer programs obviously are in a higher tier than a ceramic program. And so it gives, I think, looking forward, it gives us an opportunity to break out actually what the programs are. So we're not lumping and I'm sure Nathan loves ceramics, but we're not lumping ceramics with the need for after-school and summer program, and so we're not doing that thing.
And I think this kind of empowers the department heads,
Mhm.
right, to kind of go through some of that analysis themselves and really kind of think through this overall budget process. I think it'll be really helpful.
Well, they have to ask questions of what they're asking, right?
Yes.
So they have to put some meat to it.
Yeah.
Now, they do that, but it's not as thorough.
It's not as granular as
Right,
this is.
it's like, hey, we need, a new fingerprinting system because the other one's broke, right? I mean, that's kind of the way that it's been. Now, if it's broke, then it's, how urgent is this? This is very urgent.
Yeah.
Do we have any leverage for this? Well, we can get a police grant to help offset that. So then that bubbles up and it's like, this is a no-brainer. Now, if it's, well, the thing looks like it's gonna break, in the next 3 or 4
Which is
years.
90% of the stuff we have.
You know, which, some of it is like down the road stuff, is like, you know, how do we, in a budget that is constrained as we are, and we frankly continue to constrain ourselves, how do we start to filter this stuff out?
Well, a $5,000 pottery wheel versus a $5,000 fingerprint machine.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah.
The lady in ceramics thinks this is really important. I can tell you she
Yeah,
does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
But
But this helps, really what we're asking everybody to do is do some quantitative analysis, right? We're putting some quantitative, specific numbers to something that, for the most part, has been more emotional, qualitative. Right, in a lot
I
of
think it's been
ways.
more of ease too,
Yes.
of what we had last year, because we haven't had the systems in place to be able to measure and look
Evaluate,
and
yeah.
provide that up-to-date data, and so it's just really been the simplistic, let's do what we did, and it will see where we are from last year. And so now we actually have month-to-month analysis of what we're spending, how we're spending, where we're spending, and I mean, even I think Nathan's talked about line items of not just big buckets, but actually lines of where it was been moved around, and so they're able to see it up to date now, and so it gives them a more clear picture of how they're spending money and where they're spending money.
Let's walk through, I've done 2 walkthroughs. Now, both of these are capital. And I was gonna try to type one up that was operational, but.
Made your head hurt.
Yeah, I ran out of time, is the way I'm saying. All right, so this, let's see if we can make that go away. This is for the sports field. This is something that's on the capital plan for the new debt service, right? This is a sportsplex infield turf replacement project, right? Just to kind of give you some background, I think we all know what's going on. We're putting turf down at the sportsplex. What is that gonna do? It's gonna extend the season usability, it's gonna reduce weather downtime, so on and so forth. Recently, we've learned that there's some significant increase in cost. So we look at it, let's assign it its tier base. Well, sportsplex is a core recreational facility. Turfing is an enhancement, it's not mandated by anything, so it's gonna be a tier base, so it's gonna get a 2 there. We look at our legal mandate. Are we legally mandated to do this? No one's forcing us to do this. That gets a 0 in that category. We look at our public safety risk. Well, the turf you could say, hey, it may reduce injuries, it may prevent, you could give it a 1, it's gonna give you more consistent footing. I think there's arguments on either side of that. But let's give it a 1 for this exercise. Infrastructure preservation. Well, it's gonna reduce a lot of cancellations due to weather. It's gonna extend the playing hours, and it'll be a more consistent playing surface, so we can give it a 2 from infrastructure. Community demand. It's used by a lot of local leagues and tournaments. It benefits a substantial number of families, but not everybody plays travel baseball or league baseball, right? So we can't give it a 3, but I think a 2 is appropriate. It's a moderate score for its community demand. We got a lot of people that come in to take advantage of it as well. Economic fiscal impact. Well, since we've seen the increase of that, I had it at a 2, but since it's gone up significantly, I've reduced that to a 1. And that's how, as these things change, as we get new numbers, we can adjust those scores based off of this and make a note, this is why we're adjusting. We currently don't have any grants or fundings for it, or grant matches or any leverage, so we're gonna score that a 0. The timing, it's beneficial, but is it urgent? I don't think that we could say it's urgent. It'll still be there, we can still do it in the future. There's no deadline or regulatory thing that's hanging over us, so we give it a 1. It's asset life. This one, you could say it's a 2 because it's shorter term, right? If this thing went out another, if it went out past 15 or 20 years, then you could bump it to a 3, but it's a 2. So now we total all those up, we've got a 9, and we add the 2 tier-based points, so we get an 11 out of 24, all right? That kind of helps you see how this, where does that fall? Yes, sir.
So based on, kind of based on, we talked about that, as well as community-based needs, but what about the return we get on that, like,
The economic return. That's right.
I mean, I might have given it a higher score on economic and fiscal impact.
So let's have that discussion, right?
Yeah.
So that's an opportunity for adjustment, right?
Right.
So if you say, hey, let's have a talk about that. Let's imagine that this is what Jason comes back with. I think he's gonna score it higher, but this is what Jason goes back with, right? And we say, hey, Jason, look, I think this should be a 2 or a 3 even. Well, you can have that conversation. If we're not charging for anything and we're just going off the indirect economic impact of this, does that warrant a 3?
And that gives him the ability to really kind of come and say, that way, if we're saying turf versus grass extends the season, and it also eliminates cancellations, well, there ought to be some way to quantify that.
In quantity, yeah, your gate fees and your concessions would be the,
He's done some of the work already too.
That's what I'm saying.
would be the direct tangible lines.
Yes, yeah,
This doesn't count the indirect.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
they don't.
They don't
They don't
anymore.
charge.
So that's where so right now they don't charge, which gets us up to like 100 teams a tournament. And yeah, so we did a balance a couple of years back where we looked at, we were getting like 20 teams a tournament and we were charging them like $250 per team to come in. And we ran numbers and we figured out, hey, if we give this away and we'll get more sales tax
The
and more
competition was
hotel
giving it
motel
away.
tax, and we'll get people coming in,
Yeah, our competition was giving it away too.
that everybody else in the regions started giving it away.
Yeah.
And so we made this strategic decision to say, hey, we're gonna not charge for the tournament fees because we can get a lot more indirect. Now, we're not, if you look at their revenue generation versus their expenses, their revenues dropped off quite significantly. And that's because of that decision. But you look back at our revenue bumps from the hotels that are out there and from the restaurants, and you see an increase in sales tax generation and hotel motel tax. So that was a balance, and we did some figuring to figure all that out. But if that has to come into these conversations.
But it also helped move us to the #1 event space like that in the nation.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, what, didn't Jason get that?
It was USSSA, yeah.
Yeah, the top in USSSA.
Yeah.
So let's say we're at a 12. That's a medium priority, right? Tier B, essential service. Here's a little kind of bullet points on it. This would put it above like the golf course irrigation, right? I mean, the golf course irrigation is gonna score lower than that. And maybe some beautification projects, if it's head-to-head with it. What are some things that we could do? Well, if we can get some more external contributions from tourism or private sports organizations, and that may give us some additional points to rise it even further up the chain. Or do we consider a phased approach to this? Do we do half of it and then half of it a later time?
Then take this number and look at our strategic plan. Look at our short-term city plan for growth, or our long-term city plan for growth. So we take this number and see, should it be higher based upon where we want to just a decision that we make based upon where we are today, but also where do we want to be in our, I know we have a 5-year budget.
We have a 5-year capital budget.
Okay, we have a 5-year.
Right. But I think what you're bringing up is, and this is part of this is part of the reasoning why this is developed, is when I've sat in their seats and tried to have us all come collectively together to understand what our priorities are, it's so, and it's so dispersed. What Councilman Dodd considers his priorities may be different than what somebody else considers their priorities. This helps kind of level that out, and what do we have to do? What do we need to do? And what are we choosing to do instead of?
I understand that,
Yeah.
and I agree with that.
So-
I like having this process. I don't want us to lose sight of that we are a city that needs to be committed to innovation and growth. That's all.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking about how can we ensure within this process that we keep that at kind of forefront in our budgeting process.
The thing I like about this is that it's kind of like an executive committee on the board. They do all the homework on something difficult, and they present that to the full board because they've already done the hard work, and now you have more data and information based on the work that they've done previously to get to that point.
You know, where I'd hope is that we've tried to get there before, is an overall priority. So we hear a lot of times buzzwords like infrastructure, stormwater, all these things are great to say, but how are we prioritizing those things? And sometimes, and I'll move on to the next one, because this is one that kind of gets in my crawl. ADA improvements in our parks, okay? We made a budget amendment not too long ago to remove these improvements to fund another project, right? But when we go down through here and we start scoring this is probably one of the highest scoring things. Why? Because we are obligated to do these things. We are legally mandated to do them. They are high public safety risks. They're infrastructure, that they are basic infrastructure. You know, it's a core access issue for us. Economic impact fiscal score. It's not revenue generating, but it's gonna keep us out of trouble. Somebody, you see what I'm saying? Leverage match, we have some opportunity right now. We could put that at a 0 just for this. Timing and urgency, I think it's that these things are non-deferrable. We can't punt on some of these things. Asset life, you know, a sidewalk's gonna last 20 years or more if installed correctly. So even if I come in here and I say, hey, leverage, let's take that to 0. That's gonna make that 18. Make that
21.
18 to 21. But you see where we are. So this is a high to very high priority.
Question.
Yes.
If we come to this realization and then we choose not to fund it, does that present us with liability that someone could come back to us and go,
I think,
you rated this? And
well, let's back up to a conversation, and these are the conversations we gotta have. Councilman Dodd had a road that had a lot of issues that he was trying to get a sidewalk in. As soon as that becomes knowledgeable to us, we're obligated to fix it whether we're scoring it or not. Right?
we're aware.
Yeah, I mean, we're aware of these things, and we're obligated to take care of them. And so what I'm saying is, let's put the obligations at the top of funding. Let's take care of the things that we're obligated to do, and quit crossing our fingers that something isn't gonna happen there.
But Frank, to your point, this may also help to serve as a wish list for the next fiscal year cycle.
That's right. Now, if we can
Because
say,
you've already got some things that, hey, we just didn't have money in the budget this year, but they're still a high enough priority, they keep moving up.
that's right. Now, if we're knowledgeable of it, but we don't have the funding, and we have it in a 5-year capital plan, then that could suffice, right?
Yes.
We could say, hey, next year, we're budgeting to do this, we're taking steps towards this, right? But we have to show that we're taking steps towards it, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, things like this litter the city. I mean, this is just part of operating a city, is dealing with these types of things. But to take those and pull them out, we've got to make sure that we're funding, and this is my opinion, we got to make sure we're funding the things that are the highest priority. And I think those are going to bubble up, and those are going to be because of the way that this is, and this is, I think, your point. Those are going to be public safety, public infrastructure, health and sanitation. Those types of things are going to be what bubbles up to the top. Now, everything that's in the second bucket and the third bucket really starts to become more nuanced in how we approach it. And there is some nuance to how does this fit into a longer-term vision of growth and for our community.
One other question I think that I made a note of that I was unclear about, just when I look at the group, how does this account for new positions? Is that done separately?
So I think the way that we look at that is in the case of the grant operator, right? Or the grant writer, excuse me. Let's say, what's that department?
Innovation.
Innovation department. So the innovation department, let's score that one together. They're proposing a grant writer, okay? So we come in and we say, hey, is that mandated? No. Is it an essential service? I think it would probably fall into a tier 3 because it is somewhat discretionary. So we'd say, okay, that's a score 1, a 1 there. Are we legally mandated to do it? Well, there's policy, so let's give that a 1. Stop me if there's any discussion on these. Is it a public safety or risk? Well, can they help fund some of that stuff? Maybe they can help. It depends on what they're going after.
It also defines on what you call a risk.
Right.
Because if you've got somebody managing a grant for compliance purposes, it reduces risk for us.
So if we say it does reduce risk significantly, which we've seen, right?
Right.
So let's say that's a 2. Infrastructure preservation. Well, can they help us extend infrastructure? Sure. I mean, they're getting grants to fund sidewalks on North Parkway and redo airways. So yes, I'd say if that's part of their job description, that they're going after infrastructure, let's give that a 3. Community demand and equity. Is there a huge community demand for that?
Yeah, they want grants.
They want grants. They don't want to pay more taxes, right? They would rather see the grants come in to help, especially on capital needs, right? There's a conversation to be had about operational grants and moving past that, but let's just say for community demand and equity, we'll give that a 2. Economic fiscal impact. I think we could all agree that one's probably a 3, right? Leverage and match. They are literally doing that. They are creating leverage if they're doing their job correctly, so let's go 3. Timing and urgency. Do we have to have them? We don't have to.
I can make an argument.
I think we can all make arguments. Let's say, what do we want to settle on?
1 or a 2. Yeah.
A 2, okay? Asset life, that one is not applicable here, so let's add those up. 2, 4.
17.
17, thank you. So we have a 17. Now let's compare that to.
Now, at 17, does that include not applicable? You still, is that?
No, you don't run that in that, you don't put a 0 there.
You take it out of the
It's
picture.
taken out of the picture altogether,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, so that's a 17 out of 21,
Okay.
right? So if we've got a 17 out of 21, now we go through and let's imagine another scenario where we've got somebody else. Let's imagine somebody in your office, right?
Accountant.
An accountant.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what tier?
24, right on.
24, not even
Maxed
add
out.
the capital in there too.
That's right, that's right.
What's the asset life on that guy?
And that's-
Okay, so it's 3, right? I mean, that is a must-fund service
Okay,
to your offices, correct?
yeah, we'd like to think so.
Are we legally mandated? I would say, are we legally mandated to have this additional person? But this person helps us achieve the legal,
It's a 2,
A 2.
probably.
okay? Public safety and risk.
It's a 2 or a 3 if you've got the right
Nathan's
person.
gonna kill somebody if he does.
I'm going conservative, whatever the lowest you're saying, I'm putting in
Yeah.
there. So if you, just so you know. Infrastructure preservation. They're not really doing that, right?
No.
So,
He's gonna say 4.
so,
Would that be a not applicable?
No, it's
no,
Zero,
it'd
no.
just be a 0.
Yeah.
Community demand and equity.
Nobody's begging for more accountants, Paul.
Nobody's begging, but I tell you what they are begging for
There's accountability.
is accountability, right?
Yeah,
So let's go 2. Economic fiscal impact.
I think they can probably pay for themselves.
And can they help keep us accountable?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Leverage match. We don't have any leverage, we really don't have a match. You know, what is that,
Right.
what do I have there on the leverage match? 0.
0.
Timing and urgency.
3.
3. And an NA,
You got a 14,
so 14.
Out of?
21.
Okay? Well, I did take the low end of his spectrum.
Right,
I think you could have been,
Yeah, it could have been
you could have been
17
right
or
up there in the 17 if we had
Yeah.
taken the high end of your spread.
easily up there.
But that gives us an idea of, these are 2 positions that have potential significant impact, right? Now, if we get a position that, and I don't want to create some, you know, we can go down this thought experiment of,
how many, are you gonna expand, okay, so we have a gang unit.
right,
The marginal increase of adding 2 more officers in the gang unit, how do you evaluate that based on what you've already got? I don't wanna go through that, but
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing. But if we didn't have one at all, it would certainly probably score very high at that point, if that makes, you know, I mean, so,
Creating one out of nothing, then it scores higher than
right.
adding them.
If it's something like that, but now if you're creating a position for disc golf referees, that's not gonna be very high.
That's
I mean,
right.
You know,
I still think there's going to be some, I mean, we cannot eliminate people being selective. So for using the example you just gave about if we needed an additional position gang unit, and I'm scoring that as the department head, I'm still going to say there's a significant need for that position in my opinion and observation.
That's where there's multiple points.
my mind has been all over the place, but
Yeah.
one of the things that's been interesting to me, just thinking about this today, is that Chief Corley and his team, if they are using this internally before they even send this to us, if they are being truthful with themselves, like I will be truthful with myself, I'm gonna look at this and say, you
You're
know,
probably gonna, honestly, the first read, he's probably gonna score less. Right,
Yeah.
your score's gonna be less because you're doing it for your department. It comes to, then, you know, Chief Corley scores it less, it comes to you, he may increase it, right? Or
well,
the mayor may
Well,
increase it.
I'm
because,
evaluating,
hey,
do I need,
That's more valuable than you're really giving.
well, but in my department, do I need more revenue staff or do I need more accounting staff? In the police department, when they're putting these side by side, these different priorities, I think it's gonna make them be a little more honest with themselves.
I think so too. I think it helps sculpt too, like, let's go back to the grant writer. What do we need out of that person? We need them to generate an ROI, right? And I mean, that's part of that conversation of building out that job
ROI,
description.
and from the past, about 4 weeks of compliance on some past grants where people have left, we need someone that's minding the entire shop of the grants, man, it's just.
Yeah,
But the other thing, and you were concerned about innovation and things like that, I think this is gonna make the must fund things incredibly obvious, but it doesn't mean that as you go down in those medium and lower priority things, there's not gonna be decisions made here at this table and also by the council to say, yeah, we think we need more disc golf referees than we do, you know, accountants. I mean, they may make that choice. I mean,
I gave it
But
to them.
something, if they bring that to light, that we
You're
need
no
more
help.
disc managers,
Yeah.
it may hurt their credibility when they're going up against a needed accountant for Nathan or a game unit, you know, you know, like,
I mean, it doesn't hurt their
Yes.
credibility. They, in their mind, what they're hired to do, right, is to display the importance of it. It's the decision makers that have to go, okay, based on this rubric and this score and the conversation that we've had, I understand your need for it, but there is a greater need over here that we have to fund.
But to your point though, yes, that first iteration, it's all very subjective, it's still gonna be subjective. But it goes to the first iteration of the department head. And then it goes through the mayor's office, Nathan's office, and then it comes to this body, and then it goes to the council. By the time it's gone through that whole process, it's gonna be pretty fine-tuned, I would think. And so that's going to help, I think, take some of that subjectivity out of it as well, or may add to it, again, because I really feel like when you're sitting there scoring,
Cutting all accountants.
yeah, well, I mean, if you're scoring yourself,
Game
you're
unit, who needs a
probably
game
gonna
unit?
score less. You're probably gonna give it less quality than somebody else that's looking at it from a bigger, broader picture as well.
And it helps remove, I was gonna say blinders, but if you're just focused just on, like Parks and Rec, when we focus just on Parks and Rec, and they're not looking at bigger picture, goes to my office, Nathan's office, this group, it gives us a chance to look at the bigger picture and then do that. And I was probably off subject, probably the first iteration that we do in this spreadsheet will be column for department head, column for mayor, column for recorder,
I
column
think
for
that'd be
budget
good to kind
committee,
of
column,
track it all
yeah,
over the system, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing, we can go, you can all do it blind,
Yeah, you do it blind and then put the data in there
Right.
at the same time.
you know,
Yeah.
where you're not adjusting them, you're just
Right.
blindly doing it.
Yeah,
And then that way, we can say, okay, what did they rate this, what did Nathan rate this, what did
and
you
then
rate
average
this?
it all out.
You could average it out.
And say, okay,
Yeah.
where are we at? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's another way to use it.
Yeah.
Really, the goal of this is information,
yeah.
right? What are
Trying
priority
to get
information?
the best use of the
And
information.
I do like that idea of doing it blind, because then at the end of the day.
I'm not looking at
what I think is
what
important.
Jack thought or what Nathan
Yeah,
thought.
and the numbers, the numbers are gonna be the numbers at that point,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's gonna account for all anomalies, all subjectivity and everything else, and so, yeah, I think doing it blind would definitely be okay.
It may never live inside Tallahassee then.
Yeah, that would overly complicate it, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't, not everything has to live there.
No,
If
I was
it's- if
trying
we're
to
just
make
using an
it
external tool,
streamlined, yeah.
Yeah, but it may just be that you're pulling two screens up at a time, but, yeah, I think that probably, as we talk through it more, it would probably be better used outside of the Munis system, so we can have the blind usage and then input the data.
But it's also something we can put in that rationalization screen. This was the final average score for this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That way it'll print and they'll see it,
yeah,
especially for capital items,
right.
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think that works really well.
With the Google the way it is now, we can come up with something really cool
With the
for them.
Google?
Yeah, thank you, man. At least it didn't say Google. But we can come up with something pretty
With
neat
that internet thing.
with that internet thing.
So, here's what I would hope, is that in our meeting later this month, that we can finalize this and get a vote on it for implementation. So if there's anything that needs to be added to it, adjusted to it at the present, let's do that. That way we can work on training people in January.
So do we want to, just, what Michelle said, add a row of, and y'all help me with how we want to say it, right, of matching up to strategic plans? Because we have multiple, right? We have infrastructure plans, sidewalk plans, we have master plan, we have parks plans. And so you don't want to pigeonhole just a departmental plan, because some departmental plans also coincide with the master plan. And so how you want to word that and what works best for everybody.
So, yeah, I mean, so would you kind of add that maybe then to the legal mandate for each plan?
Or do you want to add
Or do you add another-
another row
Yeah,
called
I would say,
Another
yeah,
row.
if it's legal mandate, may not
conformance
be,
to vision?
Yeah, maybe add
Yeah.
another row.
Well,
Yeah.
so like
It is
if we,
strategic plan.
if we look at sidewalks, for instance, they're in our civic master plan, they're in our MPO planning. We have our own sidewalk infrastructure city adopted.
Yeah, like,
That to me is a 3. right? I mean, in planning, or where is this? If it's just a departmental plan, that may be score, we need to figure
I
out
feel like I'm
some,
about to overcomplicate it, because
some metric.
just stuff like that, when that score, like the bike ped plan, there is a score, right? So there are some that are a priority 1, some are priority, I think they go to 5 maybe, but.
So if it's not in the plan, it's a 0.
Yeah,
And where is this in?
where's it in the plan?
In the plan. What priority is this in?
Yeah,
Whatever plan it's in.
yeah, I think most of our
And
plans
list that plan.
have priorities and then kind of low.
They all have priority
Yeah, yeah.
matrices. Yeah.
And so how, yeah, is it in the plan, then you automatically move to a 1 if it's in the plan, and then where is it at in the plan? May move it to a 2 or may move it to a 3.
I like that.
I'll let y'all
So we're gonna
wordsmith
add a-
that. Let y'all wordsmith that.
Yeah.
We can work that out.
That makes sense.
Don't wordsmith it into a
I
column.
don't, I'm down for that. I think that helps align it with what are long-term goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just like this.
And that may be it, Paul, you put it in the column, long-term goals, and then down here, the explanation of this is what long-term goals means.
Okay. So, again, the goal would be get this adopted. That way we can start working on, training and preparing department heads, because I know there will be a lot of questions. And I know that, and I'm willing to give of my time to go sit down with smaller groups of them and let's walk through some of these examples.
So that's gonna be my, do y'all have any thoughts on where would be a good place to start that training? That then maybe that could then domino effect, they could help with additional training or kind of be the champions, if you will, with them to see, hey, I've done this, it works great.
I'm trying to think, would it be better to start with a smaller department and then work your way up to the bigger ones for the complexity of it? To have this is how we did our small department with no sub-departments underneath, and then work up to the complex departments like a police department.
Yeah, like police and
And police and fire,
police,
That would
fire,
probably
and
be
parks
the
and
ability
rec
to
are like the
fine-tune
three
we'd be
big-
last, and then we
Yes.
start with the smaller one and then work our way up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine to break it out into 3 or 4 different little cohorts that we kind of work through.
Nathan and Ron and I'll get together and look at kind of sizes, some comparable sizes, then do that. If it's 3 or 4, what makes sense? Because then what I don't want to do is you get in, yes, they're big departments, but they're so specialized that I can just hear fairly quickly, well, what about this right here? And then you're bouncing all around to these departments, and you just end up there for 2 days trying to figure out each
Yeah.
individual one.
I mean, it may be that,
Yeah, those are individual.
yeah, like we
Yeah.
need to go sit down with
Yeah.
police and fire individually.
And some of their
Parks and
command
Rec,
staff, probably.
Yeah, command, yeah.
And walk them
Yeah.
through, because I don't think, Corley and Frutal are gonna be doing this. Maybe they will,
No,
for
they-
every sub-department.
No, they'll have their command staff that'll go
Right.
through that and submit it.
So the goal would be to kind of get this going in January. That way we can get a base.
Yep.
And that base, for this year could kind of ride for a year or 2. But every couple of years, the idea would be to rescore this. Just come back to it,
I think if they don't do it, if we don't do it every year,
it'll lose it.
yeah, I think.
If they don't go through some of the exercise every year,
They're gonna go through any additional dollar requests
Right.
and capital items every year.
right?
I
But the
think-
base numbers
I
kind
think,
of.
I think if we continue to do all of it, well, just on maybe we create a shorter rubric for the base, and then make it to where every 2 or 3 years we go back and do a more extensive rubric, but have the shorter rubric for the base, and then have this rubric for any newer capital items every year, but then revisit this, make it more complicated for you, Nathan.
But see, I can easily see, once we get doing this, we're gonna start this in October.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
We'll let everybody kind of get past the first quarter, and then, here we are. It's
Yeah.
time for this now.
Yeah, because you'd like all this to be kind of aligned with those requests coming in.
Yep.
Right.
Aligned and completed and done by February.
That's right. So we're sitting in February, we've got this data, we've got the monetary requests for funding. We're starting to get some of our revenue clarity and what the state's telling us. We're tracking through where, we've got some data behind us on where we are for the current fiscal year. I think that really helps us, gives us a great toolkit to go into the budgeting season.
And I'm thinking, the state depends on how they feel year to year, on how early they want to give us. And
Oh, I know.
I think if we project if we start out projecting flat state revenues, and then we can just go.
I mean, there are a couple of assumptions you can
Yeah.
make on revenue growth,
Yeah.
but you won't get big. We won't know for sure until the General Assembly
Right.
finishes,
Yeah.
you know. Because, who knows, we might just get a big chunk. They might decide to give us our sales tax back.
Yeah, oh, yeah. No.
I doubt it.
Hold on to that hope. We'll keep sending the resolutions every year.
That's right.
I just look at the two city council meetings for the readings. It will help clear that up and be. a
Well, I
little
think, Brian, we'll still have the work sessions.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we'll go through and split up 2 days work session, so, but we'll have all the information will be there, and that way you all can ask questions based on the platitude, the multiple, plethora, I can't even think of the word, of information that you have, instead of just, what else you need?
Yeah, that's what I was
You know.
thinking. What else do you need? Is there something on this, that's not on this list that you need?
Yeah.
Well, we've answered that many times,
Yeah,
this process.
sure.
Frank, my hope is that next year, when you guys go into these budget discussions, a lot of the items that you would be talking about have already been discussed. I
And
think-
scored.
And scored, discussed, scored departmentally, but you guys gotta start having some discussions about some of this stuff. Your debt, this debt issuance, you gotta have some discussions about your capacity on debt. These are the kind of things that we as the budget committee need to be relaying to them to keep them on board of, here are the things we're having discussions about. And so that you're not caught off guard. At the very end of it, it's like, here's the budget, and
It was all this new information we
and
had.
everybody's just like drinking from a water hose for a month.
And two, I think it helps 9 people know deeper about the budget than we typically, some of us may not dig very deeply, and it sounds nice, and Nathan's getting excited there.
Well, this gives you, when you're looking at a cost of a $70,000 widget that scores low versus a $600,000 widget that scores high, it gives you some actual data that you can look at this, and you don't have to understand
Gives you context on what it
the
is.
context for what's going on.
So, when is the budget meeting on the 1st? No, yeah, it'll be on December 1st.
Our budget committee meeting will be on 24th. It's the last Monday.
Okay. So I think if we, I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit. We can, y'all get that, if the budget committee gets this kind of approved, decides they want to go, and then that can be what we introduce during the work session on the 25th, before the pre-agenda meeting of, hey, this is where we're going. This is, and not get down into the granulars we've gotten today, but just educate the council that are on the budget committee. This is what's coming. This is what you'll kind of see as you get into the budget process, and then kind of knowing that it's not going to be a final product until probably another year from now, until we work through any issues that will arise departmentally, because there will be some.
25th.
I'm happy to, I can be there. And I wanted the opportunity to kind of share it.
Yeah.
So the 25th,
Yeah, it would be 4
obviously it's
o'clock.
not gonna be Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I tried to have it on Thanksgiving Day. Revolted.
Repealed it.
I've got Franksgiving that night.
Yeah, 4. We'll have you in there first, that way you can go through it and you got to hang around for everything.
Not all day.
Well, if you want to.
Better watch out.
Bring your box back in here.
I may
Well, I
bring
think
back
eventually
3
this
more
is a work
spots.
session,
Um,
and then we get into
All right.
the agenda.
well, where are we on time?
Now, am I correct, Scott?
No, sir.
We would go from the budget meeting on the 24th to the agenda review on the 25th?
No, we just presented the work session, just to let them know, just, that 4 o'clock informational session, just to let them know this is what the budget.
This is a
meeting-
tool they're gonna be
This is the
using.
tool that we're gonna be implementing and kind of laying out what it is, understanding what it is, then kind of preliminary implementation plan of it.
Do we have to approve it?
The budget, no, the council won't have to approve
Okay,
it,
good.
no. I think this, because it's not, what we don't want it to be is the default of the reason we don't fund things. We want it to be a tool is how we make decisions and not just,
That's right.
and so I think if it's an adopted, then it's a reason not to fund things as opposed to a tool to make us understand priorities.
That's 100%, you nailed it. It's not a, like a pass filter that says, hey, we're gonna cut off
Yeah, just take,
everything below this number.
what we don't want to do is the council go, well, score said it, we're voting this way. I mean.
No
you know,
turf.
Yeah, no responsibility.
Yeah, they told us not to fund turf,
Yeah.
the numbers.
Paul's rubric told us not to do this.
It's like Hal's roundabout, right?
Now, look, I'm happy to speak to any of these things, but I think we've gotta have these
Yeah,
conversations.
exactly.
No.
I mean,
That's why I say I don't want it adopted as something we're doing, because I don't want it to be the default of this, the rubric told us not to do it. And we'll say,
Yeah.
and someone will say, Paul's rubric told us not to do it, and then,
That's fine,
Yeah.
but it doesn't need to be that way.
No, it
It needs to
doesn't
be a
have to
tool of
be.
conversation.
but we gotta have these conversations, and but it focuses the conversation.
Yep.
It helps say, okay, where are we, and what
But-
levels?
I don't make sure it's not a responsibility shift.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep. No, ultimately, I mean, this doesn't make the decision for
Right.
you. This helps you make the decision.
Right.
Right.
I have another meeting I need to
Yeah.
get to. Paul,
We were
thank
booked
you
for
so
2
much.
hours, are you leaving?
I noticed that. Got like 2 meetings in here in this time. Really, we do appreciate all the
Well-
work you've done for this, because this is exciting to have this tool.
Well, I appreciate the feedback very much, and we'll get that implemented. I'll send it to Nathan to disperse to you guys on a modified one, and then if there's any other discussion we gotta have here in a couple of weeks, we can have it then,
Okay,
and hopefully get this thing going.
Yep.
Thank y'all,
Thank you.
appreciate
thank you,
it.
Paul.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.